Hello. Well, it's good to be back again. And as usual, we've got fun stuff to talk about. Today, we'll be looking at building serverless application with an event-driven architecture. Now, I've been spending a couple of time around serverless because I'm trying to introduce the YouTube and the world at large to the flexibility that comes with adopting the serverless architecture for your business environment, and also understanding how that takes a big chunk of the burden of what a classical environment looks like to what a futuristic environment will be in time to come. So join me on this ride, okay? Now, a brief introduction. We know serverless is a native architecture of the cloud. That's what the cloud is built on. At the bare minimum, infrastructure as a service. You do not have to bother about servers, about hosts, and all these things. We take care of all that. So that's what the cloud is all about. It is everything you need to run and scale your application with high availability, and it's all that is taken care of. You do not bother about all that. Serverless enables you to shift more of your operational responsibility to a cloud service provider, hence increasing your agility, your innovation, and speed, if I may bring in that, as well as lowering the cost of ownership. So you see this classical mentality of operational costs, managing or maintaining servers in your data center, maintaining all the hosts, paying the electricity bills and all that stuff. All that abstraction can be eliminated just by adopting serverless, because now you'll be focused on what is my business. Okay, do we have an application? What is this application all about? What is it meant to do? What are the clients that we have? This becomes your new burden, not how many servers do I need to have in a rack, or maybe how many CPU utilization count do I need to be concerned about. All that abstraction is taken off. Now, developers and your internal teams can focus on the core products instead of worrying about managing operating servers or runtime. Okay. Now, the objectives of this, will be trying to understand an event-driven architecture. We've seen several serverless architecture in the previous videos we've been recording, but we've not looked at event-driven. So we're looking at event-driven, leveraging the strength of Lambda and a few other solutions in the AWS suite, understanding how step function is configured to orchestration of server applications. Then we'll take advantage of the Amazon SQS and the SNS. Very cool stuff to look into. We'll create configure Lambda function with API gateway resources and routes. Then we'll make configuration updates to restore API functionalities. Okay. Now, the lab review for this recording, the session will teach you how to build a web-based book printing app using a set of serverless technologies like the Amazon API Gateway, the Amazon Step Function, the Amazon Lambda, the Amazon S3, then also the Amazon DynamoDB for the database management, the simple notification, and also the simple queue service, then the recognition. Now, all these sets of solutions will be touched upon in this particular recording. So I must warn, this recording might extend beyond my normal 20 minute short time. I will try to keep it as short as possible, but if you love rich content, I'm sure you wouldn't mind spending the time or the hour to go into the content to actually appreciating what this is teaching about. Okay, now the lab environment. The environment uses API Gateway, Lambda function, Step Function, and S3, as well as DynamoDB tables, SQS, SNS, and recognition. The API Gateway is hosting several APIs in front of a Lambda function, which actually is event driven. Then the DynamoDB is used to store metadata about the users or the images a user uploads. Then the Step Function workflow is started to validate the images and renders them for printing before a link to the user for verification via SNS. Then we have a user is able to preview a PDF of a book before sending it out to third party for printing or for shipping. So we can see the whole architecture, the way it works from the start all the way to shipping or printing. We have all that running in AWS cloud. So there is no on-prem here. It's not a hybrid situation. It's purely cloud-based, and you'll appreciate the power of the cloud by the time we're done with this lab. Okay, I think this is the last slide I have. Now I'm going to stop the slide and we're going to get hands-on dirty doing some stuff. See you soon. Okay, so we've signed into our accounts. Let's talk a bit about the architecture, what it looks like. You can clearly see right here the way the architecture looks like. So this is the external book publisher, which seems like the endpoint. Then we have the user, we have the internet. So this is our AWS architecture. Right here we see we've got all this happening within a region. Now we could have this replicated to multiple regions depending on how much we want to build that resilience, which we'll crave for later. Now at the start, so we can either see and access through the API gateway, which is what we'll be setting up first, or through the S3 bucket directly. But again, watch the way it works. So the API gateway, the Lambda function picks that trigger, writes the DynamoDB database, or we can have the Lambda function also all the way to the step function, carry out a particular number of functions before sending the notification via any of these to the external book publisher to carry out an action. Then we have all these being monitored by CloudWatch. So at a high level, this is what the architecture looks like. I'm not going to spend time going into details about what each of these products are. As we do the task, we will see the function where they play or what function they play in the overall architecture. So let's take this down, trying to save some time. Now the first task which we'll be doing is to set up the Lambda function to generate presigned URLs. So we'll go over to our Lambda right here. Open up the Lambda page. I hope the internet is a bit faster for me. If it's slow, we might have some challenge. I hope it doesn't actually. Yeah, I hope so. So as you can see, we've got a couple of functions going on already. We've got the print vendor function, the create book binding function, the resize function, the store image metadata, and all these functions will be triggered based on requirement, as we're going to see later. So, but I'm going to create a new function. Now this function will be print, we'll call this maybe a presigned URL function, and we're going to author from scratch. So we'll give this a name, presigned URL function. The environment will be using Python specific 3.9. Then the architecture will leave that for Linux based. A bit of permissions if necessarily. We might be able to change execution role to be able to set some form of execution role. So let's drop this down a bit. Now we have the options, like I always say, to create execution role, but we're going to configure execution role to use an existing role. So right here we'll use an existing role. So we'll search for the role. For this role, I'm sure it's already in the system, so we're going to just work with that. For the existing role, we'll select the role that contains the backend processing. So if I draw a drop down here, we will see there are several of them here, but I'm going to go for the one with the backend processing. Okay, great. I'm just going to select this. Now we're working with an existing role. I'll go ahead and create the function. So wait for that to populate its stuff, and then we will see in the code session how to upload the content which you're going to be using for that. Okay. So on all our other videos, we've actually been able to create a Lambda function here, but for this, I think I'm going to be uploading. We'll upload from an S3 location. Now we've got an option to paste the link of the bucket here, so we'll find a specific the bucket that we have the resource which we want to actually upload from in this. Okay, so we have the function URL. We have it copied and pasted in there. Again, I had to go check the S3 bucket specific, which is this one, having the config in there. So we're going to save this. All right, now we will choose the configuration tab and navigate to the environment variables just to do a few things. Could not unzip. Okay, I need to unzip the file before I can actually use it. Okay, so we have a new S3 location, and we're going to save this. Now once we're done saving that, if it populates fine, we'll be able to choose the configuration tab and navigate to the environment variable. So we're going to see right here on configuration, we'll go to environment variable. Again, if you don't understand how this stuff works, I think we have some videos where we've covered the very basics on this. So environment variables, there you have it. Now in the environment variables, what we need to do is to add environment variable for each of the following, which will be specific. We'll add for keys, we'll add for value, we'll add for image metadata, as well as key values for image metadata, and key values for user image S3 buckets, which will be required for actually this to work. So currently we see there are no environment variables, so we can edit this to add environment variables. So the first one which we're going to add, the key will be image metadata table name. I'm just going to copy that off my notes. Then the value, we will copy the value. Okay, I'm going to have to check the value from the provision and submit that in. Okay, so we have our provision image data table name. The value is image data. We just copy this and go back to our browser and paste that in. Let me do some space real estate here. Oh no, I believe I closed that. All right, I hope I still have it in there. So we have this one. We will add some more. So we will also add S3 bucket name. Okay, I'm going to have to go look for my Notepad++. And I hope that it's still there. Great. S3 image. That's the actually key. I'm just verifying that's S3 bucket name. So the S3 bucket name is the user image S3 bucket value, which we have there. So I'm going to paste this in as well. So now we have these environment variables. We're going to save this. Then under general configuration, we're going to make a few more changes. So if we go right here, we can see we have environment variables specified now. So we'll go to general configuration. We're just going to edit it a bit, set a bit of memory tweaking, change a few stuffs. So for the memory, we are pretty much okay with 128, but for the timeout, which is very critical actually for this Lambda function, we will change it to 30 seconds. Currently we have 0 to 3 minutes. We will change this actually to specific. Okay, so we've moved from 3 seconds to 30 seconds, and that's pretty much it for that. We will save this. So we will have the Lambda function ready. Next, we're going to go create a Presigned API resource using the API gateway for this task. All right, our Lambda is ready. Lambda function is ready. If I go back in the functions, we will see our Lambda function should be amongst the listed function at this moment. I'm not sure why, but it's shown somewhere there. Okay, so let's go ahead to the next task to creating a Presigned API resource. So you can see we've got a couple of APIs already. Now we're not creating, we're just going to work with something that is here already, digital book print, which is in the same region. Be sure you're actually doing all the stuff in the same region. We select that. Then right off the action point, we can actually create resource for this. We can delete. I think that's the only option there for now. I'm going to just select it. Let me see. Takes a while to load. My internet is a bit slow. Okay, so let's create resources and methods on this particular API which you've selected. So right here off the bat action, I'm going to first create a resource. So if I select create resource, we can give this a resource name. For the resource name, I'm going to just call this Presigned. Then again, I'll keep the resource path as it is, Presigned. I'm pretty much okay with that. So we can go ahead and either do enable API gateway calls, cross origin resource sharing, configure as proxy resource, but I'm not going to do any of such. I'm going to create this resource. Then under this resource, I'm going to create a method. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the resource which you've just created. Then again, we can use the action to actually create a method for this. So let's create method. So that is resource. Now the method, remember from our previous video, we can use any, we can use whatever, get, post, puts, but again, you want to be sure specific what you need. So for this, we will choose the method post because we want to use this to be able to post stuff only. So we're being specific as to the method types we're selecting for this. Now we've selected the post method, and on the Presigned post, we will see a setup screen which will just make a few configuration right there. I just need to select this to validate that. Then right here we can see Authorization API Key. So sorry, this. Now we need to do a bit of settings here. So on this Presigned post setup screen, we will do the integration type, which is a Lambda function. For that, pretty much okay to use Lambda proxy integration. We have the options for that. We're going to actually select that yes, so we can do proxy integration. The region, be sure it's the exact region. For us is US West 2. We're pretty much fine with that. Then the Lambda function, we'll just enter it should populate, which is the one we just created. Okay, we'll select that. That's the Lambda function. Now we can go ahead and save this, so which is okay, and that should be it for this first part. Now we will go ahead again and deploy the API. So we have this saved. Let's wait for this to finish the okay, great. Now if I go back to the resource, I can actually still select action to deploy the API. So which we're going to do, actually we'll select action, then we'll choose deploy API. So in this, we can either do deployment for development stage or whatever. For basically we can select stage. I think I'm going to do stage for this. Then the description, it doesn't really matter if you want to, but I'm just going to hit deploy on this one and wait for it to finish. So let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. Now we can see the stage here. If I drop this down, we should be able to see the post which we had created, and on that post we should be able to see the pre-sign, which is this. So what we're going to do is basically we're going to select the pre-sign, then we can see the invoke URL right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy this invoke URL because we'll be using it later in the task. So I'm just going to copy this to my notes. So I'll put this somewhere below. Great. Okay, so that's it for this task. Now next on in line, we'll be uploading a sample image to see how this stuff is going to react to it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get right at that. Okay, for this task, to upload a sample, we'll be using Cloud9. So I'm just going to leave this environment the way it is. I'll search for Cloud9. It's not the first time we're using Cloud9, so I'm sure this shouldn't be pretty much difficult to understand how to be that environment. I'm just going to right click on this and open a new tab, just because I don't want to close what we have going on here. So the system is slowing down a bit. I hope you don't mind that as well. Okay, so here goes Cloud9, and we have an environment already built, so I'm not going through the building phase, because if you check some of our other videos, you will watch how to probably create an environment from scratch. So we're just going to open this and work with that for this particular task. So let's go ahead and download. I'm just going to clean this. I'm not sure if you can see this clearly. First, cd into home environment. Okay, right in here, just we have the readme.md there. Then we'll just copy the wget command to use it to download from abroad. Download the zip file. Oh, should be put in paste. Okay, download this. Then once we have that, we'll unzip. I'm sure this should be the sample, so we'll unzip that. Then we will change into the sample unzipped file. Okay, right here we should have images. They're all JPEG files. Okay, these are images which we're going to be working with for this task. Okay, so let's attempt to upload, so we can see a bunch of this stuff here, but let's attempt to use this Presigned URL and then just upload a sample using curl. We can see specify the name, the album, then also sample message right there all the way back to the type Python over there. So we're going to copy this entire blob, whatever that you want to call that. I'm going to copy this. Okay, and go to the terminal and paste it right there. Okay, and I skip the L too. So let's see what this, so we can see it hit the endpoint when we're able to actually carry out that operation. Now if we go to the top, we can see the username is specified, the album is Ethiopia Vacation, then the message. Then also we can see the file name, specifying what the file name will be, and also the bucket, which is obviously the bucket which you have, and the percent URL Okay, very important to actually note all that stuff. Okay, great. We've been able to do something. Now, next, what we're going to do is we're going to try to see if we can maybe put in something else from what we have within the list here. If I ls here, there is several of them. There's this one happy face. We're going to try to see if we can actually upload that thing still using curl. Let's go give it a try. So what we're trying to do is to maybe put something like the happy face using this presigned URL, which we got as validation. Then we're going to just use curl to try to replicate that. So I'm going to copy exactly this blob which I have extracted, then specifying that we want to put in the happy face. So let's paste that over here. Yeah, it's a bit of lag. We'll wait for that to complete. It's quite a blob. Okay, great. Be sure that is wrapped in. Now we didn't get no errors, so we've been able to actually run this and upload something. We can try to fetch that to see, but remember when we were creating this, we actually specified post only as the method. So if I try to maybe do a get, I probably would get an error and that will not actually work. Okay, but let's try to look at this maybe within the S3. So I'll go back here, maybe just search for S3 and see if I can find it within S3. So I'm going to remove Cloud9, search for S3 within the buckets. In the bucket I should be able to see it, so I'm going to pause this, and when it's done I'll come back. So right here we can see the bucket with the user images. I'm going to select that bucket to open it up. Yeah, this thing slows down a bit. Then I'm going to navigate to the path incoming. Under incoming we should be able to find the resource under username. This is me. You can see I've got my name right there, so this is something I'm actually doing on the fly. Yeah, Ethiopia vacation. Then we can find the content which you've been able to write into the buckets. So there goes the JPEG image which we just put in there. Okay, just to show you that, yeah, this is actually happening in real time. Next, we're going to be subscribing to user approved email notification, just so they can get a notification and also go act on the notification. So we're done with this part of the challenge. Let's move on to the SNS subscription. Okay, so navigated to SNS. Currently we have a topic which we're going to be working with, but if you don't, you actually have to create a topic. So we'll go to topic. On that topic, we'll select the specific topic, SNS topic for user communication, which is created as integrated to the current project we have running. Then we'll create a subscription. We can actually do the whole subscription creation here. We'll create a subscription under which we'll configure maybe like the protocol we want to use. I'll be using email. Then I'll specify my email. I think I've got an email signed on here. Just to show you this is actually real time. So we're going to select that. Then we'll just create a subscription with these details which we have. Then we will try to go trigger that to see if truly, yeah, we're able to get a subscription. Okay, so there you go. We can see the notification. We will go view that quickly. You have chosen to subscribe for this topic, and we'll just confirm the subscription so we can have that validation done for this. Okay, so we got the confirmation. The user has subscribed for this particular notification, and all the instruction around that. If we want to actually unsubscribe, we can do that right on the fly. So next, we will be looking at making a digital album, which obviously will be closer to the conclusion of this. We'll fall back to Cloud9 and try to make a digital album. So let's fall back to Cloud9 and invoke our state function, step function. I'm just going to go back to my Cloud9 instance. Where is it? Is it this one? Is it this one? Okay, there it is. I hope it didn't disconnect me. So I've got the command built here. So we're using call again. With the username validated, the album, then the content type here is application JSON. Then we're posting create basic create book binding URL. So let's copy this from here. to our Cloud9 command and paste this right here. Okay, and then we'll run this. All right, we'll wait for the feedback. There seems to be a delay. Okay, so we've been able to create a book binding. We see it's saying after the execution, your printing request has been received. Once digital book is available, you will receive an email to validate the PDF book and a link to approve or reject the physical printed book. So this run executed successfully. Let's go back to our S3 bucket and let's go view stuff. So we'll go find the particular bucket. If I go back to, oh no, this is SNS. I'm looking for the S3. This is Cloud9. My bad. It should be this. No. Okay, now there are so many tabs and I'm just like, yo, what's up? Okay. So yeah, we're in S3. We will validate that in this same bucket, S3 bucket, we'll have a couple of more folders in there, specifying under incoming. We'll be seeing a bit more details as to the book we're requesting for within this folder, subfolder directory. So next we'll be going into the step function aspect of this. So I'm just going to navigate to open a window with step function. We'll choose the specific function, which will be image processing or image process state machine, which we already have created. Then we'll start looking within the execution to see how to specify exactly. So this is the function. Within this function, we will just inspect graph and view a few stuffs. Okay, looks like I'm going to have to stop this recording here. There seemed to be a bit of a problem with the step function not been populating. I think it has to do with maybe my connection. But again, we have just 2 tasks left. Well, the user can actually receive notification via email, but as it is now, they cannot make a digital album and they cannot actually request for a hard copy book by making a printing request. So they can get a soft copy via email, but we hope to get this challenge, this task completed, so we can have this complete overview of what the serverless for your business environment will look like. Anyways, thanks for your time spending this past 20 minutes or 30 minutes with me ranting about this stuff. I hope you find this useful. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to let me know. I'll be glad to help. And have a good day. Yeah, bye.